Alright guys, we're looking at section 2 of unit 4 for our grammar review. We're on page 218 still. If you would like to go more in depth with this lesson, you can refer back to page 196. So we're looking at comparing with adjectives. So our 3 degrees of comparison. We have 1, the positive, the base form. It does not make a comparison. So our example would be an example of a positive adjective would positive degree adjective, would be tall. A adjective and the comparative degree would be taller, so you're adding that er. It compares two things to each other. And then superlative, the superlative degree compares 3 or more things to each other, and you would use that affix est, so tallest. And then our rules, depending on how many syllables your adjective has, we have the positive form in the first column, and then our comparative degree in the second column, and then the superlative degree in the third column. So if it's 1 syllable, you're going to say warm, warmer, adding the er, and then warmest. If it has 2 syllables, so we have pretty, and of course we have the spelling rules that come into play. So when you have a y, then you're going to drop the y, add an I, and then continue with the er for the comparative degree. And then for the superlative, you're going to continue to have that I instead of the y, and then you're going to add est. Conversely, if you have a word like famous, instead of adding to the end, you're going to put more in front of that word, in front of famous, to make it comparative, and then you will put most to make it a superlative degree. So you'll have to, if you don't already kind of have these rules memorized, you'll have to check in your dictionary or on Google to know when you should use an affix to change the degree of comparison, or when you need to add more or most. And then for adjectives that have 3 or more syllables, such as reliable, so that would be the base form, the positive degree of comparison. And then you would have the comparative degree, more reliable, and then for the superlative degree, most reliable. So pretty similar to our second example from the 2-syllable example chart. So going over to some of the rules we need to keep in mind when we're working with the degrees of comparison. So rule number 1, use more or most. So more would be the comparative degree, most would be the superlative, or you would use less for the comparative degree or least for the superlative degree. Our second rule has to do with our spelling. So this is just a review. We already kind of touched on this, I think, in Unit 2. Or was it? No, sorry, it was Unit 3. So we have thinner. So because there is a vowel in front of that final consonant, you're going to double the last consonant, and then you'll continue to add the er or est for the superlative. For happy, you're going to drop the y, add an I, and then continue with adding your affixes. And then for words like cute, you would drop the e. And of course, you can't really tell that it's been dropped, but it has been dropped. And then you're going to add the er or the est, just like you did for the other adjectives. Our third rule is to learn the irregular forms. So I didn't copy this down, but I'll flip back to 197. So irregular forms. So good would go to better, and then best, bad, worst, worst, much or many, more, most, little, less, least, far, farthest, far, farther, and farthest. All right, and then number 4. So the following adjectives are used for things that cannot be counted: little, less, least, and much. Those are the adjectives you use when you cannot count the thing that you were trying to describe. But then you would use the adjectives few, fewer, fewest, or many if you were describing something that can be counted. And then I wrote up here on the side, I'm still not great with writing down on paper instead of a board. But you do not use more or most with ER or EST. So you got to pick one or the other. Okay, so let's go over to our questions. Again, we're on section 2. So our instructions say to write each sentence using the correct form of the adjective in parentheses. So let's look at number 6 first. Deserts may be the blank places in the world to live. So it sounds like we're comparing deserts to all the places in the world. The word in parentheses is hard. So since we're comparing more than 2 things, it's all the places in the world. There's a lot of places in the world. It sounds like we're going to need the superlative degree. So it should be hardest. So it would be HARDEST. So that's number 6. Let's go to 10. Of course, I chose the one that I don't know how you would properly pronounce that. Aziza, Libya, though, is blank, then Death Valley. So the word is hot. So Aziza, Libya, that's one place. And it sounds like they're comparing it to Death Valley. So that's 2 things that are being compared. So we need the comparative degree. The word is hot. So we're going to change it to hotter. And because that O is a vowel in front of the final consonant, we're going to double the T and add ER. So HOTTER. So let's go to 15. A few are among the blank regions of all. So the word is spectacular. So it sounds, if a few is more than 2, sounds like they're comparing all of the regions. So we're looking for the superlative degree. And if we go back to our chart, when we have a adjective with 3 or more syllables, so spectacular, it has 4 syllables, so we're going to use, again, we said the superlative degree, so we'll need to add most in front of that spectacular. So number 15 should be, a few are among the most spectacular regions of all. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions. Again, remember you are doing all 6 through 15, but that is section 2.